the fear in her eyes. The forest was silent. Thick fog wrapped around the twisted trees. The air smelled of wet soil and fear. Zerahi, a tall alien woman with silver skin and glowing blue eyes, moved quietly between the shadows. Her thin arms held a small child, her daughter Luma, close to her chest. The little girl was weak, hungry, and tired. Her stomach made small sounds, but Zerahi dared not stop. She whispered, "Just a little more, my light. We must find food." They had been running for 3 days. Their village was gone, burned, destroyed by the invaders. Her husband, Luma's father, was dead. Now they were alone on this planet, hiding in the jungle. Zerahi had heard stories about this world. She had heard stories about humans. Meat eaters, the elders had said. Savage beasts with teeth like fire and hearts like cold iron. They eat anything that moves, even children. And today she saw one. It happened at sunrise. The roar of a ship broke the silence. Zerahi dropped to her knees behind a rock, hiding. Her child. She peeked over slowly. A small human shuttle had crashed in the clearing. Smoke rose from it. From the broken door, a figure stepped out. A man, tall, broad shoulders. His skin was pale and marked with small cuts. He wore dark armor with red marks. Blood, maybe? His hands held a strange tool, maybe a weapon. His face was rough, scary, dangerous. Zerahi's heart raced. Was this the end? Would he see them, grab her daughter, and eat her like the stories said? She stayed frozen, but then something strange happened. The human didn't roar or attack. He dropped the tool. He looked around with tired eyes, not like a hunter, but like someone lost. He fell to his knees. Then he pulled out a small silver box and pressed a button. A soft light blinked. She couldn't hear what he said, but it sounded like a message. Then he did something that confused Zerahi completely. He took out a food pack, opened it, and placed it on the ground. He didn't eat it. He left it and walked away. Zerahi waited. 10 minutes. 20. The man disappeared into the trees. Slowly, she crept forward. Luma whimpered in her arms. Zerahi looked down at the strange food pack. It didn't smell dangerous. She touched it, then tore it open. Soft steam rose from it. Warm. Real food. Her hands shook. She fed a little to Luma, who ate like she hadn't tasted food in weeks. Zerahi ate some too. Her body cried out in relief. But her heart screamed in warning. Trap! Why would a human give food and walk away? Later that day, Zerahi saw him again. He was sitting near a small fire, sharpening a stick. Nearby, 2 more food packs lay on a rock. He looked up and stared directly at her. She froze. His hand slowly reached for something, a weapon. Zerahi turned to run, but stopped when she saw what he held. A water bottle. He held it up in the air. Slowly. Gently. Then with a soft voice, he said, "For the kid." She didn't understand the words, but the tone. It wasn't angry. It was kind. The man placed the bottle and food on a rock and backed away. Zerahi didn't move. He took a few steps back, then sat again by the fire. His eyes never left her. She waited, heart pounding. Then, against every story, every warning, and every voice in her head, she stepped forward. She grabbed the water. She nodded. Just a little. A silent thank you. The man nodded back. That night, under a large tree, Zerahi lay holding her daughter. Luma slept with a full belly for the first time in days. Zerahi looked up at the moon. Her heart was confused. Why didn't he attack? Why didn't he take Luma? Why did he help? Back near the fire, Sergeant Cole Rivers stared into the flames. His mission had failed. His ship was gone. His squad was dead. But now, in the middle of this alien forest, he saw something more important. A scared woman and her child. He didn't know their names, but he knew fear when he saw it. He also knew what it was like to be alone. So, he whispered to the night, "Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to you." And though Zirahi couldn't hear him, for the first time in weeks, she felt a little less afraid. Shelter beneath the stars night fell over the alien forest, like a thick blanket. The stars above blinked quietly, watching everything below. Zirahi stood still behind a fallen tree, her daughter Luma asleep in her arms. The human, Sergeant Cole, had built a small shelter not far away, using broken ship, pieces and branches. A soft light glowed inside. Warmth, safety. Zirahi hated herself for even thinking about it. But her child needed warmth. She looked at the sky and whispered, "Please, don't let this be a mistake." Then she walked toward the light. Cole was inside, sitting by a heater coil made from ship tech. He had bruises on his arms and a small cut over his eyebrow, but his eyes lit up when he saw her at the entrance. Zirahi didn't say a word. She slowly entered, every step filled with doubt. Her body stayed tense like prey walking into a hunter's den. Luma stirred in her arms. Cole reached for a blanket and laid it on the floor, motioning for them to sit. Zirahi looked around. One room, makeshift walls, metal panels, blankets, a half-melted crate as a table. It wasn't home, but it was the safest place she'd seen. Since the invasion, Cole placed something gently in front of her, a sealed ration box. Zirahi opened it and fed Luma. The child smiled in her sleep, and for the first time, Zirahi sat without running. Later, the silence grew heavy. Cole took a deep breath. Then, slowly, he pointed to himself. "Cole," he said. Zirahi narrowed her eyes. He pointed again. "Cole," he waited. After a long pause, Zirahi tapped her chest lightly. "Zirahi." Cole smiled. "Zirahi," he repeated, then nodded. She looked down at her sleeping daughter and hesitated, then whispered, "Luma." Cole pointed gently. "Luma." The human smiled like he had just made first contact with a new world. Zirahi didn't smile back, but her shoulders dropped. Just a little. That night, when Zirahi laid Luma down on the softest spot of the shelter, she noticed something strange. Cole did not sleep near them. Instead, he slept across the room, near the broken door. He was cold, but he stayed far, as if, to show he meant no harm, he was guarding them, not trapping them. Zirahi stared at him for a long time, trying to understand. The stories were wrong. This human didn't look hungry for flesh, he looked exhausted, but peaceful. She remembered something her husband once said before he died. Sometimes the scariest face hides the kindest heart. Maybe this was what he meant. The next morning, birds screeched in the trees. Zirahi woke up to the smell of heated food. Cole was already up, cooking something on a salvaged heat plate. It smelled strange, not like alien food, but not unpleasant. He offered some to her. Zirahi paused, then took it. She tasted it. It was warm, simple, real. She gave a small piece to Luma, who giggled and said, "Yummy," in her native tongue. Cole didn't understand the word, but he smiled. Anyway, Zirahi watched him closely. He was strange, gentle, quiet, and nothing like the monster she was told humans were. That day, it rained. Zirahi tried to catch falling water in a metal bowl. Cole helped her. Together, they made a small system using the shelter's roof to gather clean water. For the first time, they worked as a team. Cole didn't speak much, but when Zirahi shivered from the cold, he offered his jacket. She refused at first, but when Luma sneezed, she took it and wrapped the child. The jacket smelled like metal, smoke, and something else. Something calm. Zirahi blinked. She wasn't scared anymore. She was confused. That evening, Cole showed her a small metal cube. He pressed a button. A glowing image appeared, a photo. It showed two humans, a woman and a little girl with curly brown hair. The girl was sitting on Cole's shoulders laughing. Zarahi stared. Cole pointed and said, "Family." His eyes grew distant. A small pain flickered in his voice. Zarahi didn't understand every word, but she understood the feeling. Loss. Cole had lost someone too. Just like her. And maybe that was why he protected them. Not because he had to, but because he couldn't let another child be lost again. That night, under a broken roof and glowing stars, the alien widow finally spoke more than one word. She looked at Cole and said, "Thank you." He didn't reply, but he nodded, eyes soft. And for the first time she felt safe enough to sleep without holding her child like a shield. The sound of enemy boots' rain fell gently on the metal roof of the shelter. Each drop sounded like a ticking clock. The sky above was gray, and the forest had gone quiet, too quiet. Zarahi felt it first, a strange stillness in the air. The animals had gone silent. The birds weren't singing. The wind didn't move. She stood up quickly, her silver eyes sharp. Luma played with a small toy made from a food wrapper, laughing softly. Cole sat outside, cleaning his weapon, more from habit, then need, then crunch. The sound came like a whisper through the trees. Leaves, a branch breaking. Zarahi's breath caught in her throat. They were not alone. Cole heard it next. He stood slowly, scanning the trees. His soldier's instincts kicked in. He looked at Zarahi. "Take Luma inside, now." She didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. She grabbed her daughter and crawled under a metal panel in the shelter floor, a hidden space Cole had shown her days before. It was small, dark, and cold, but safe. Zarahi held Luma tightly, covering the child's mouth gently. Luma's eyes were wide with fear. Above them, the door creaked shut. Cole crouched low and aimed his rifle toward the trees. Another crunch. Then another. Shadows moved between the thick trunks. 4 figures. 2 tall, armored scouts. 1 drone floating above them. Red lights blinked from its sensors. It was a search patrol. The same invaders that destroyed Zarahi's village. Cole didn't wait for them to speak. He fired. The first scout dropped instantly, his armor sparking with fire. The drone spun wildly as a bullet hit its lens. But the third figure rushed forward, faster than expected. Cole rolled to the side, taking cover behind a tree. A beam scorched the ground beside him, leaving a black mark. He didn't shout. He didn't panic. He moved like a ghost, silent and deadly. Below the floor, Zarahi listened to every sound. The gunfire, the footsteps, the heavy breathing of a wounded man. Then, silence. She waited. Luma clung to her. "Mama, is he gone?" the little girl whispered. Zarahi didn't answer. Then, the door opened above. Light poured in. Zarahi raised her arm, ready to fight. But it was Cole. Blood on his face. A cut on his arm. But alive. He dropped to one knee, breathing hard. "It's done," he said. Zarahi didn't know the words, but she saw the truth in his eyes. She climbed out with Luma. The child ran to Cole and hugged his leg. Zarahi wanted to scold her, but didn't. Cole didn't move at first. Then he placed his hand gently on Luma's head. Zarahi saw the guilt in his face. He had killed, he had protected. And now, he looked at her like he needed something. Forgiveness, understanding, or maybe just to know she wasn't afraid of him. Zarahi knelt and began cleaning the wound on his arm with a cloth. Cole looked surprised. "You don't have to." She shook her head. "You bled. For us." He didn't reply, but his eyes softened. Later, that night after the bodies were buried far in the forest, Zarahi found something the patrol had dropped. A communicator. She held it up to Cole. He stared at it for a long time. It could contact his people, maybe bring help, maybe bring danger. Zarahi looked at him. "You call More humans? Cole stayed quiet, then slowly said, "Not yet." That night none of them slept. The stars above were hidden by clouds, but inside the small shelter something had changed. Zerahi no longer saw a monster in the human. She saw a protector, a warrior, a man willing to die for a child that wasn't even his. And for the first time she wondered, who protected him? A lesson in humanity. The fire crackled gently. Morning light streamed through the cracks in the shelter. Wall's rain had passed and the forest was calm again. Steam rose from the ground like ghosts returning to the sky. Zerahi sat by the doorway, her arms wrapped around her knees. She watched the human. Cole was showing Luma how to hold a stick, not as a weapon, but as a pencil. He used ashes from the fire to draw on a flat metal plate. Circles, lines, smiley faces. Luma giggled. Her laughter was real. Zerahi hadn't heard it in days. Cole looked up and saw Zerahi watching. He smiled and pointed to the drawing. "Face," he said, then tapped his own face and smiled wider. "Happy?" Zerahi tilted her head. She didn't speak. Cole gave the ash stick to Luma, who copied his smiley face, sloppy but full of joy. Then, Luma surprised them both. She tapped her own chest and said, "Luma happy?" Zerahi's eyes widened. Cole's smile grew warmer. "Yes, Luma. Happy." Zerahi whispered, "You teach her?" Cole shrugged. "Just showing. She learns fast." He didn't say it like a soldier. He said it like a father. Later, Cole showed Luma more earth words. Sun, rock, fire. He even sang a simple earth lullaby in a quiet, rough voice. Luma clapped her hands even though she didn't understand the words. Zerahi sat close now, watching every move. She remembered how humans were described in old war stories, wild things with no heart, creatures who destroyed everything they touched. But this human now was showing her child how to smile, how to laugh, how to live. That evening, Cole shared a small treasure from his jacket pocket, a photo. Zerahi had seen it before. A woman and a little girl, his family. He handed it to Luma, who stared at it with wide eyes, then pointed to the girl in the photo and said, "Luma?" Cole chuckled softly. "No, not Luma. That's Hope." Zerahi blinked. She hadn't heard him say the name before. "Hope," he repeated. Then his smile faded just a little. Zerahi gently asked, "Your child?" Cole nodded. "My daughter." Zerahi hesitated. "Where is she?" The human's eyes dropped to the fire. His voice lowered. "Gone. Long time ago." The shelter fell quiet. Luma held the photo and touched the girl's face with her tiny fingers. Then she did something unexpected. She handed it back to Cole and wrapped her arms around his neck. Cole froze. Then slowly, he hugged her back. Zerahi looked away, not because it made her uncomfortable, but because it made her feel something deep, inside her chest, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Warmth. That night, Cole cooked something different, a mix of alien roots and human rations. It smelled strange, but Luma ate 2 bowls. Zerahi took a bite. It wasn't bad. Cole grinned. "We make a new recipe." Zerahi smiled, just a little. "Human food, not so dangerous." Cole laughed. "Not always." It was the first time they had joked, and it felt natural. Before sleeping, Zerahi took a moment to sit alone under the stars. The night sky stretched forever. 2 moons hung low. She looked at the human's jacket still wrapped around Luma. She remembered how she used to think of humans as monsters. Now, she saw Cole protect her daughter like she was his own, and she couldn't stop one thought from repeating in her mind. Maybe he lost a child, but found another. And maybe, just maybe, she hadn't lost everything. Winter comes early. The wind changed. It came without warning, cold, sharp, and full of ice. One moment, the forest was quiet and green. The next, the sky turned white, and the trees moaned in pain. Zerahi stood outside the shelter with Luma in her arms, staring at the sky in disbelief. "This is wrong," she whispered. "This season should be warm." But the leaves froze in place. Snow fell like ash from a dying world. Winter had come far too soon. Cole rushed out of the shelter, pulling his jacket tighter. He looked around, his soldier's eyes scanning fast. The ground was already hardening. He pressed his boot into the dirt. It cracked. He muttered under his breath, "A cold snap this early. Shouldn't happen." But it was happening. And fast. Inside the shelter, the temperature dropped quickly. Their small heater blinked a red warning light. It was built for emergencies, but not for this long, this sudden. Luma coughed softly. Zerahi pulled her close. The child's skin was turning pale blue. Her hands trembled. Zerahi looked at Cole, panic in her eyes. She is too cold. Her body, too young for this." Cole didn't answer with words. He tore the jacket off his own back and wrapped it around Luma, then grabbed metal scraps from the supply pile. He started building fast. Not a weapon, not a trap, a heat box. With shaking fingers, he connected wires, tore open rations, and ignited a small emergency chemical pack. A warm burst of light came from the box. Not fire, but heat. He placed it beside Luma. She stopped shivering. Zerahi stared, speechless. Cole's own hands were turning purple from the cold. "You gave her your coat," she whispered. He shrugged. "She needed it. But you'll freeze." Cole looked at her, eyes calm but tired. "I've been cold before." The storm lasted 3 days. They stayed inside the small shelter, huddled near the heat pack. Cole didn't sleep. He kept checking the roof, fixing leaks, adjusting the heater every hour. When rations ran low, he gave the last warm food to Luma. Zerahi tried to refuse, but he shook his head. Feed the child. That's what matters. On the second night, Zerahi found Cole sitting outside the heat zone, his back against the metal wall, barely awake. She crawled over and placed her shawl, thin but something, over his shoulders. He opened one eye. "You'll freeze," she replied softly. "We survive. Together." For a few seconds they sat in silence, then she added, "You are not like others." Cole let out a soft laugh. "Neither are you." By the time the storm passed, the forest was white. Ice hung from the trees. The sky was clear again, but deadly quiet. Zerahi stepped outside for the first time in days. The world had changed. But inside her chest, something else had changed too. Back in the shelter, Luma played quietly with the ash stick. She had drawn a picture, 3 figures under 2 suns. One tall, one with long hair, one small. Zerahi smiled, then noticed something strange. She pointed. "Who is this?" she asked, pointing to the tall figure. Luma grinned. "Papa." Zerahi froze. She looked at Cole, who had just walked in. He had heard it too. He knelt beside the child. "What did you say?" Luma repeated proudly. "Papa." Cole's lips parted, but no sound came. Zerahi's eyes filled with tears. Not sadness, not fear, but something deeper. Something healing. That night, Zerahi stayed awake after Luma slept. She looked at Cole sitting by the fire. She walked over, sat beside him, and said, "When I first saw you, and I thought you were a beast." Cole didn't respond. She continued, "But no beast gives warmth to a child when they have none left for themselves." He looked at her finally. Their eyes met in silence. In that silence, something unspoken passed between them. Not love, not yet, but trust, and the beginning of something stronger than fear. The decision of the heart. The snow was melting. Thin rays of sunlight passed through the trees, warming the frozen ground. The forest breathed again. Birds returned. Life returned. But inside the shelter, the mood was quiet. Too quiet. Cole sat by the broken console from his shipwreck. He had been working on it for days. Zarahi watched from a distance, holding Luma in her lap. Each beep from the console felt heavier than the last. Cole wasn't just fixing broken parts. He was reaching out, to his world. The final connection sparked. A soft green light flashed. Cole spoke into the device. "This is Sergeant Cole Rivers, Unit 12. I've survived. 2 civilians with me. Alien origin. Need evac." The reply didn't come immediately. When it did, it was cold. Extraction confirmed. Coordinates received. No clearance for alien passengers. Repeat. No clearance. The words hit harder than gunfire. Cole stared at the blinking light. Zarahi stepped closer. "What did they say?" Cole didn't answer, so she asked again, "Are we not allowed?" He looked up slowly. "They said, they'll come for me. Only me." Silence. Even Luma didn't speak. She simply hugged her mother tighter. Zarahi turned away, her voice calm, but trembling. "Then you must go. Your people, your place is not here." Cole stood. He looked around the shelter. At the metal plates he built with his hands. At the food rations, drawings on the wall, and the little sleeping corner Luma always ran to after eating. He stared at his coat. Still, wrapped around Zarahi's shoulders, and he said nothing. That evening, Zarahi packed her small bag. She placed one soft cloth around Luma and kissed her forehead. Her child didn't understand yet. She thought they were going on a walk. Zarahi had seen this before. Men leaving. Soldiers always left. Even the ones who promised they wouldn't. At dawn, Cole stood outside. The sky above shimmered with the faint glow of an approaching shuttle. The rescue was coming. Zarahi walked up to him. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything." Cole's jaw tightened. "I don't want to leave." She shook her head. "But you must." He looked down at Luma, who was still drawing lines in the snow, then looked at Zarahi. "What about you?" Zarahi smiled. "Sad, but strong. We'll manage. We always do." The shuttle broke through the clouds. It hovered above the trees, scanning for Cole's life signal. Zarahi turned away, but just as the transport sent a final landing beacon, Cole crushed the communicator under his boot. "Crack," Zarahi gasped. "What are you doing?" Cole stepped forward. "I'm staying." Zarahi's eyes widened. "But your people," he cut her off. "My people are right here." He looked at her, then at Luma, then back at her. "I don't belong up there anymore. Not without you two." The shuttle hovered for a while. No signal. No response. Then, slowly, it rose back into the clouds and disappeared. The sky was silent again. Zarahi didn't speak. She couldn't. Cole turned to her, unsure what to expect. But instead of anger, Zarahi reached out and touched his arm. She whispered, "You are more alien to them than you are to us." That night the shelter was warmer than it had ever been. Not because of fire or heat packs, but because no one was alone anymore. Zarahi laid beside her daughter. Cole slept near them, closer this time, not guarding them but with them. Luma turned in her sleep and mumbled, "Papa, stay." Cole heard it and smiled in the dark. He already had his answer. A new family among the Star Spring arrived like a quiet promise. The trees blossomed with silver leaves. Soft winds carried the scent of wildflowers. The forest that once echoed with fear now whispered something new. Peace. In the middle of that forest stood a home, not a shelter anymore. A home, built from scraps of a fallen ship, shaped by human hands and alien memory. Small, simple, strong. Inside, Zarahi carefully hung dried herbs near the cooking fire. Outside, Luma chased glowing bugs under the twin moons. And nearby, Shirt, Often hands dirty, Cole worked the soil, planting food, carving wood, making a new life with nothing but what they had. It wasn't Earth. It wasn't her planet either. But somehow, it belonged to all three of them. One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, Luma ran up to Cole, laughing and holding a small creature in her hands. "It's called a lighthopper," she said in her alien tongue. Cole raised an eyebrow. "You speak both languages now?" Luma giggled. "Mama teaches, you teach too. I know Earthward home." Cole smiled. He tapped her nose gently. "This is home." Later that night, they ate around a stone table Cole built with his bare hands. Luma showed off her drawings, this time with 4 figures: Cole, Zarahi, Luma, and a small, strange-looking animal with too many legs. Zarahi laughed. "That one is me?" Luma nodded. "No, that's Papa's cooking." They all burst into laughter, even Cole. After dinner, Zarahi stepped out into the open and looked at the stars. "Do you miss your world?" she asked. Cole stood beside her. He didn't answer right away, then said, "I used to, but now..." He glanced back inside the home where Luma was already curling up with her blanket. "I don't think I lost a world, I think I found one." Zarahi's heart stirred. "You gave up your people," she said softly. Cole looked at her, voice steady. "They gave up on me first." They stood there for a long time, the night calm and clear. Then Zarahi reached for his hand. It was the first time she'd done it. No fear, no hesitation, just choice. Cole didn't move. He just held on. Months passed. A small hidden community formed nearby, other survivors, alien and otherwise. Word spread of the human who gave up everything for an alien widow and her daughter. Some called it foolish, others called it legend. But for Zarahi, it was neither. It was real. She had feared him once, thought he would eat her child. Now she watched him teach Luma how to swim, how to use tools, how to dream. And sometimes, late at night, he held her like he'd held pain for too long, and finally let it go. One day, Luma asked, "Papa, are you really human?" Cole laughed. "Most days." "Yes," she thought deeply. "You're different from other humans." He nodded. "Maybe because I stopped trying to be one." "What are you then?" He looked at her. "At peace." That night, under the stars, Zarahi whispered the words she never thought she'd say. "You are more than a protector. You are ours." And Cole whispered back, "You saved me more than I ever saved you." They didn't need a ceremony. They didn't need papers or laws or planets. They had each other. And in this small, forgotten corner of the galaxy, a new kind of family began. One born not of blood, but of choice, courage, and love. The end.